This story is titled, I Caught My Fiancée Sending Pics of Our Daughter to Her Ex. Then she started acting defensive when I confronted her, so I asked for a paternity test. Hey everyone! We spend so much time finding you the best stories. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps our channel. Now let's start the video. OP starts by saying, Hey Reddit, I need to get this off my chest because I honestly don't know what else to do. My fiancée Sarah and I have been together for 4 years. We have a beautiful little girl, Lily, who's 2 years old. She's my world, my reason for everything. Sarah and I have had our ups and downs like any couple, but I thought we were solid, you know? I mean, we were planning our wedding for next year, and I was ready to spend the rest of my life with her. But something happened a few weeks ago that flipped everything upside down. It's been eating me alive ever since. Let me start with some background. Sarah has an ex from before we got together. She's mentioned him maybe once or twice, but not in a way that ever raised any red flags. She said they had a messy breakup, and that it was all in the past. I assumed they weren't in contact anymore, which seemed normal to me. Honestly, I never gave it much thought. Sarah never gave me any reason to doubt her. Until now. A couple of weeks ago, Sarah was in the shower, and her phone buzzed. Normally, I wouldn't even look at it. I'm not the kind of guy to go through her phone or anything like that. We've always had a pretty open relationship when it comes to trust. But this time was different. The notification caught my eye because of the name. Her ex. I won't say his name here, but seeing it pop up on her screen made me freeze. My first thought was, why is he messaging her? I mean, we've been together for years, and as far as I knew, they hadn't talked at all during that time. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened the message. It was a picture of Lily. It wasn't anything weird or inappropriate. It was just a cute picture of her smiling at the park, one we had taken during a family day out the week before. But seeing that photo and a message to her ex made my stomach drop. It felt wrong. What really threw me off, though, was the chat history. Or, more accurately, the lack of one. There were no messages before that photo. Nothing. Just the picture of Lily and a single response from him saying, she's beautiful. I sat there staring at the screen, trying to make sense of it. If they were just casually catching up, why would she delete the entire conversation? It didn't make sense. People don't just randomly send a picture of their kid to an ex without some sort of context or lead-up. The whole thing felt off. When Sarah got out of the shower, I decided to confront her about it. I didn't want to come off as accusatory right away, so I tried to stay calm. I showed her the message and asked, why are you sending pictures of Lily to your ex? Her reaction was immediate. She got defensive, like really defensive. She grabbed her phone out of my hand and said, it's not a big deal. We were just catching up. I asked her what they were catching up about and why she felt the need to send him a picture of Lily. She said he had asked how life was going and that he had been curious about Lily because he knew she had a child now. That doesn't explain why you deleted the rest of the conversation, I said. Her face changed when I said that. She hesitated for a moment, then shrugged it off like it wasn't important. I just didn't think you'd understand, she said. That pissed me off. Understand what? I asked. If it's nothing, why are you hiding it? She rolled her eyes and said I was overreacting. That's when the argument started. I told her straight up that it wasn't okay for her to share pictures of our daughter with her ex behind my back. I asked her how she'd feel if I was sending pictures of Lily to one of my exes. She didn't really answer that. Instead, she flipped it around on me. Do you even trust me? She asked. Are you really that insecure? That comment hit me like a punch in the gut. Of course I wanted to trust her, but how was I supposed to trust her when she was hiding things from me? I told her that, and she just kept saying I was blowing things out of proportion. I asked her flat out if there was something going on between her and her ex. She got mad, like really mad. She started yelling, saying that I was being ridiculous and that I was turning a harmless conversation into something it wasn't. But the more defensive she got, the more suspicious I felt. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this than she was letting on. Finally, I asked the question that had been eating away at me since I saw the message. Is Lily mine? Her face went pale. She stared at me like I had just slapped her. How can you even ask me that? She said, tears welling up in her eyes. I don't want to ask it, I said. But you're not giving me much of a choice. If there's nothing to hide, then why are you so afraid of being honest with me? She started crying, saying that I was destroying our relationship and that she couldn't believe I would accuse her of something like this. But at that moment, I didn't feel like I could trust her anymore. The night I told her I wanted a paternity test, she cried for hours. I sat on the couch, trying to wrap my head around everything. She eventually came out of the bedroom, her face red and swollen from crying, and asked if we could talk. I said, sure, but I was so emotionally drained that I wasn't sure how much I even wanted to hear. She sat down across from me and started talking about how much she loves me, and how she'd never do anything to hurt me. She kept saying, I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you don't trust me. I did trust you, I said, but you're not exactly making it easy right now. You've been hiding things from me. How do you expect me to react? She didn't really answer. Instead, she shifted the focus to Lily. Lily is your daughter, she said. She loves you. How can you even question that? I told her I wasn't questioning how much I love Lily. That's never been the issue. What I'm questioning is Sarah's honesty. You've been lying to me, I said. Maybe not outright, but by hiding things, by deleting messages. That's the same thing as lying. You're the one who's making me question everything. At that point, she got angry again. She stood up, crossed her arms, and said, You're being ridiculous. This isn't about Lily. This is about your insecurities. You're just looking for a reason to pick a fight. That hit a nerve. I told her this wasn't about me being insecure. It was about trust. You've been sending pictures of our daughter to your ex. You've been talking to him behind my back. How is this my fault? She didn't answer. Instead, she started pacing the room, muttering about how she couldn't believe this was happening. I'm going to ask you one more time, I said. Why did you delete the rest of the conversation? Her answer this time was different. She said, I deleted it because I knew you'd react like this. You're always so quick to assume the worst. That made me pause. It wasn't an outright denial of anything, just an excuse for why she'd hidden it. If it was innocent, you wouldn't have had to delete it, I said. If you're telling me the truth, you'd have no reason to hide it. At this point, she started crying again, but this time it felt different. It didn't feel like she was crying because she was hurt. It felt like she was crying because she was cornered. I can't believe you're doing this, she said through her tears. You're going to ruin everything. No, I told her. You're the one who's ruining everything. You're the one who made this mess, not me. After that conversation, things only got worse. Sarah started avoiding me entirely. She'd take Lily and disappear for hours, saying she was going to her mom's house or running errands. When she was home, she barely spoke to me. The tension was unbearable. A few days after that initial argument, I decided to dig a little deeper. I hate to admit it, but I went through her phone again. She had changed her password, which only made me feel more suspicious. I asked her about it, and she said, I need some privacy. You're clearly not respecting boundaries. Privacy? I asked. You're hiding something, and you know it. She didn't respond. That same night, I called her out again. I told her straight up that if there's nothing going on, she needs to prove it. If you have nothing to hide, let me see your phone, I said. She refused. That was the final straw for me. If you can't even be honest with me now, what am I supposed to believe? I asked. She kept saying things like, You're blowing this out of proportion, and I can't believe you're doing this to us. But the more she tried to deflect, the more convinced I became that something wasn't right. I told her again that the paternity test was happening, whether she liked it or not. She begged me not to, saying it would tear us apart, but I told her the damage was already done. The next few days were a blur. I was trying to hold it together for Lily's sake, but it wasn't easy. Every time I looked at her, I felt this mix of love and fear. Love because she's my little girl, and I'd do anything for her. Fear because I didn't know what the test would say. Sarah, on the other hand, was acting like a completely different person. She went from being defensive and angry to suddenly trying to be overly sweet. She'd bring me coffee in the morning, offer to make my favorite meals, and kept saying things like, I just want us to be okay again. But I wasn't buying it. It felt like damage control, not genuine remorse. One night after Lily had gone to bed, Sarah sat down next to me on the couch and said, Can we just move past this? I hate what this is doing to us. I can't move past it until I know the truth, I told her. She sighed and looked down at her hands. What happens if the test comes back and Lily's not yours? She asked. That question hit me like a ton of bricks. I didn't even know how to respond. After a long pause, I said, I don't know. I guess we'll cross that bridge if we get there. She started crying again, but I didn't comfort her this time. I just sat there, staring at the floor, wondering how things had gotten to this point. At this point, we're in a holding pattern. I've scheduled the paternity test, and I'm waiting for the appointment. Sarah knows it's happening, but she hasn't brought it up again. We're barely speaking, and the tension in the house is so thick you could cut it with a knife. I'm trying to keep it together for Lily, but it's hard. Every time I look at her, I feel this mix of love and heartbreak. I don't know what I'll do if the test comes back and she's not mine. Anyway, that's where things stand right now. I'll update when I know more. Hey everyone. Before we dive into the update, if you're enjoying these stories and want to support the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps our channel. Update 1 point. The days leading up to the paternity test were some of the most emotionally draining of my life. The atmosphere at home was unbearable. Sarah and I were like strangers, walking past each other without a word. I'd catch her looking at me sometimes, her face a mix of sadness and anger, but I didn't have the energy to engage. I spent a lot of time with Lily. Every moment with her felt bittersweet, knowing that soon everything could change. We'd play with her favorite toys, watch her favorite shows, or just sit together while she babbled about things only a 2-year-old could understand. She has this way of looking up at me with these big, innocent eyes, like I'm her entire world, and that's what made it so hard. At night, when Lily was asleep, I'd sit on the couch and just think. My mind was a constant storm of what-ifs. What if she wasn't mine? What if everything I thought I knew about my family was a lie? What if Sarah and her ex had been laughing at me behind my back this whole time? Sarah, for her part, kept to herself. She spent a lot of time in the bedroom with the door closed. I could hear her crying sometimes, but I didn't go to her. I felt like she had no right to my comfort after everything she'd done. The day of the test came quicker than I expected. I didn't tell Sarah what time I was going. I didn't want her to come with me. I needed to do this alone. When I got to the clinic, my hands were shaking. I couldn't believe this was my life now. I felt embarrassed just being there, like the staff could somehow tell I was doubting my own child. The nurse was kind, though. She explained the process and reassured me that it wouldn't take long. The test itself was simple. They took a cheek swab from Lily. I had to bring her in, which was heartbreaking, and one from me. Lily thought it was funny, giggling when the swab tickled her cheek. I tried to smile back, but inside I felt like I was dying. After we left the clinic, I took Lily to the park. I needed to clear my head, and she needed to burn off some energy. Watching her run around, laughing and playing, I couldn't help but think, how could she not be mine? She looked so much like me, or at least I thought she did. Now every little feature had me second-guessing. When we got home, Sarah was waiting by the door. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Did you do it?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, brushing past her. She followed me into the living room, standing there while I got Lily settled with her toys. Finally, she said, "I wish you didn't go through with it." I didn't even look at her. "Well, I did," I said. Sarah sat down on the couch across from me, silent for a long time. Then she said, "What happens if she's not yours?" "I don't know," I admitted, "but we'll deal with that when the time comes." "Don't you love her?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Of course I do," I said, finally looking at her. "But this isn't just about Lily. This is about you, Sarah. You've been lying to me. You've been hiding things from me. How am I supposed to move past that?" She started crying again, but I didn't have it in me to comfort her. I just got up and left the room. The next few days were torture. Every time my phone buzzed, I felt a jolt of anxiety, wondering if it was the clinic with the results. Sarah and I still weren't speaking much, but she started trying to reach out in little ways, making me coffee in the morning, offering to help with stuff around the house, even trying to start casual conversations. I wasn't having it. I didn't want to pretend like everything was normal when it clearly wasn't. One night, a few days after the test, Sarah cornered me in the kitchen. "Can we please talk?" she asked. I sighed. "About what?" "About us. About what's happening." I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. "Okay, talk." She hesitated, like she was trying to find the right words. Finally, she said, "I know I've messed up. I know I've hurt you, but I need you to know that I love you, and I love the life we've built together." I didn't say anything. She continued, "I made a mistake, a huge mistake, but that doesn't change how much I care about you, and it doesn't change the fact that Lily loves you and needs you." I finally spoke. "You keep saying you made a mistake, but you're not owning up to what that mistake is. Was Lily a mistake, Sarah? Was lying to me a mistake? Or was it sending pictures to your ex behind my back? Which one are you sorry for?" She started crying again, but I was too angry to care. "Stop crying," I said. "Crying doesn't fix this. It doesn't make me trust you again. You did this, Sarah, not me." She didn't say anything after that. She just left the kitchen and went back to the bedroom. A few days later, I finally got the call from the clinic. My heart was pounding as I picked up the phone. The nurse on the other end explained the results, her voice calm and professional. "Lily isn't mine. I don't even remember what I said to her. I think I just thanked her and hung up. I sat there on the couch, staring at the wall, feeling like my entire world had just collapsed. For 2 years, I thought I was Lily's dad. I changed her diapers, stayed up with her when she was sick, taught her to say her first words. She's my little girl. But now I find out she's not. I don't know how long I sat there before Sarah came into the room. She must have seen the look on my face because she froze. "You got the results," she said. "Yeah," I said. She didn't ask what they said. She just started crying again. "I'm so sorry," she said over and over. "I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't mean for this to happen." I looked at her, feeling more anger than I've ever felt in my life. "You didn't mean for this to happen? You lied to me for 2 years. You let me think she was mine. How could you do that to me?" She tried to explain, but I wasn't listening. I got up, grabbed my keys, and left the house. I needed to get out, to clear my head, to figure out what the hell I was going to do next. After I walked out of the house that day, I drove aimlessly for what felt like hours. I didn't have a destination in mind, just needed to get away. My head was spinning, and my chest felt tight, like I couldn't catch my breath. The words from the clinic kept echoing in my mind. "Lily isn't your biological daughter." I ended up parked at some empty lot, just sitting there in my car. I couldn't even cry. I felt completely numb, like the reality of it hadn't hit me yet. It was hard to process the fact that the little girl I'd been calling my daughter, the one I've loved with everything I have, wasn't mine. The worst part? As much as I wanted to hate Sarah, I couldn't stop thinking about Lily. None of this was her fault. She didn't ask to be caught in the middle of this mess. She didn't ask to be lied about or used as a pawn. She's just a kid. My kid. At least in every way that matters except blood. When I finally went back home, it was late. The house was dark except for a small light in the living room. Sarah was sitting on the couch, waiting for me. Her eyes were swollen, like she'd been crying the whole time I was gone. As soon as I walked in, she stood up. "Where were you?" she asked, her voice shaky. "Out," I said. "Out where?" she pressed. "Does it matter?" I shot back. She flinched at my tone but didn't say anything. I walked past her into the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and leaned against the counter. She followed me, standing in the doorway. "Can we talk?" she asked. I didn't look at her. "Talk about what?" "About everything," she said. "Everything?" I repeated, finally turning to face her. "You mean about how you lied to me for 2 years? How you let me think Lily was mine when you knew she wasn't? Do you want to talk about how you've been sneaking around, sending pictures of her to the guy who actually is her father?" She started crying again, which just made me angrier. "Stop crying," I said, my voice cold. "Crying doesn't fix this. It doesn't make what you did okay. I didn't mean for any of this to happen," she said through her tears. "I didn't know how to tell you. I was scared." "Scared of what?" I asked. "Scared I'd leave you? Scared you'd have to face the consequences of your actions? What were you scared of, Sarah?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked down at her hands, like she couldn't meet my eyes. Finally, she said, "I was scared of losing you. I thought if I told you the truth, you'd leave me. And I didn't want to lose what we had." I laughed bitterly. "Well, congratulations, Sarah. You managed to lose me anyway." The next few days were a blur. I stayed in the house for Lily's sake, but I couldn't even look at Sarah. She kept trying to talk to me, but I shut her down every time. There was nothing she could say to make this better. Meanwhile, I was trying to figure out what to do about Lily. Legally, I had no rights to her, which broke my heart. I'd been her dad for 2 years, and now I was supposed to just walk away? How do you do that? How do you stop being someone's father just because a piece of paper says you're not? I reached out to a lawyer to see what my options were. He told me it would be complicated, especially since Sarah and I weren't married. If her biological father wanted to step in, there wouldn't be much I could do. The thought of her ex coming into Lily's life made me sick. This guy had been lurking in the background, hiding in plain sight, and now he might get to claim her as his own? I couldn't let that happen. One night, after Lily had gone to bed, Sarah and I had another argument. She came into the living room and sat down across from me, looking nervous. "We need to figure this out," she said. "Figure what out?" I asked, not bothering to hide the bitterness in my voice. "Lily," she said. "What's going to happen with her?" "She's your daughter," I said. "You figure it out." "She's our daughter," she said, her voice breaking. "No, Sarah," I said, my voice rising. "She's your daughter. She's your daughter and his daughter. You made sure of that the moment you decided to lie to me about who her father was." She started crying again, but I wasn't about to back down. "You don't get to play the victim here," I said. "You did this. You lied to me. You used me. And now you're expecting me to just forgive you and move on like nothing happened? I don't expect you to forgive me, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't want Lily to lose you. Her words hit me harder than I expected. As angry as I was at Sarah, I knew she was right. This wasn't just about me and her. This was about Lily too. And no matter how much I hated Sarah for what she did, I couldn't bring myself to hate Lily. But I didn't know what to say, so I just sat there in silence. I don't know what's going to happen next. My heart feels like it's been ripped in half. I love Lily more than anything, but I don't know if I can keep pretending everything's okay. And as for Sarah, I don't think I'll ever be able to forgive her. For now, I'm just taking it one day at a time. Final update. Hey Reddit, I know it's been a while since my last update, but I've finally gotten to a place where I can share everything that's happened. A lot of you had questions, and I think it's time I lay it all out. Things have escalated, and to be honest, this will probably be the last time I talk about this. So, let's get into it. After the paternity test confirmed that Lily wasn't mine, everything fell apart even more than it already had. I told Sarah there was no way we could stay together after what she did. She begged and pleaded, but I was done. I told her flat out, "You need to leave." At first, she acted like she didn't understand. "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked, tears streaming down her face. "That's not my problem, Sarah," I told her. "You've had 2 years to come clean about this. 2 years to be honest. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine." She kept trying to guilt trip me, saying things like, "This isn't fair to Lily. She needs you." And, "We've built a life together. Don't throw it away." But at that point, I couldn't even look at her without feeling a mix of anger and disgust. I gave her 2 weeks to figure out her living situation. She ended up moving in with her mom, which I honestly think is the best place for her. Her mom's a nice woman who probably had no idea what Sarah was doing, and I hope she can help Sarah get her life together. Now, on to the part I know a lot of you are curious about. When did she get pregnant? And how did her ex fit into all of this? A few days after I told her to leave, Sarah came to me and said she wanted to clear the air before she moved out. She said she felt like she owed me the truth, which I found ironic considering how long she'd been lying. She admitted that during the first few months of our relationship, she was still seeing her ex on and off. Apparently, she was confused about what she wanted and couldn't decide between me and him. She described it as a phase where she was trying to figure out who was better for her. "You were stable," she said. "You had your life together. He didn't, but I didn't know if I was ready to give up on him yet." Hearing that made my blood boil. I asked her, "So, you were double dating us? Playing both sides to see who came out on top?" She nodded, tears running down her face. "I know it was wrong. I was selfish, and I wasn't thinking about how it would hurt you." Apparently, she found out she was pregnant about 4 months into our relationship. By then, she had already decided to cut ties with her ex and stay with me. When I asked her why she made that decision, she hesitated before answering. "Because you were better for me," she said. "He's a deadbeat. He's never had a stable job, and he doesn't take responsibility for anything. I knew I couldn't count on him to be a father. But you're kind, responsible, and financially stable. I knew you'd be a good dad." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So you used me?" I asked. "No," she said quickly. "It wasn't like that. I fell in love with you. I thought if I stayed with you, I could make it work. I thought you'd never find out." That last part hit me hard. She didn't stay with me because she loved me. At least, not at first. She stayed because I was the better option. She stayed because I could provide a stable life for her and Lily while her ex couldn't. "You made me a second choice," I said. "You didn't choose me because you wanted me. You chose me because I was the safer bet." She tried to argue, but I wasn't hearing it. I told her that her decision to stay with me under false pretenses wasn't just selfish. It was cruel. "You had 2 years to tell me the truth," I said. 2 years to let me know that Lily wasn't mine. Instead, you let me build my life around a lie. Since she moved out, I've been doing my best to move on. I still see Lily occasionally, but it's not the same. Sarah has been surprisingly cooperative about letting me spend time with her, which I appreciate, but it's bittersweet. Every time I look at Lily, I see the life I thought I had, the life Sarah took away from me. As for her ex, I haven't had any direct contact with him. Sarah claims he still doesn't know that Lily is his, and honestly, I'm torn about what to do. On one hand, I feel like he has a right to know. On the other hand, I don't trust him to be a good father. If Sarah's description of him is accurate, he's not someone I want anywhere near Lily. A lot of people have asked me if I'd consider fighting for custody. The truth is, I don't know if that's even possible. Legally, I have no claim to Lily, and emotionally, I'm not sure if I could handle the constant reminders of what Sarah did. But I love Lily. She'll always have a piece of my heart, even if I'm not her biological dad. So, where do I go from here? Honestly, I'm still figuring that out. Therapy has been a huge help in processing everything, and I'm starting to rebuild my life one step at a time. I've reconnected with some old friends and started focusing on hobbies I'd neglected. It's not much, but it's a start. As for Sarah, I wish her the best, but I don't see any path forward where she's a part of my life. I can't forgive her for what she did, and I don't think I ever will. She didn't just betray me, she betrayed Lily too. She made decisions that will affect all of us for the rest of our lives, and now she has to live with the consequences. Akufraidi. Thank you to everyone who's followed this story and offered support along the way. Writing all of this out has been a strange but cathartic experience. I never thought I'd be one of those people spilling their personal drama on the internet, but here we are. To those who've been in similar situations, stay strong. It's not easy, but you'll get through it. And to everyone else, take care of the people you love. And don't take trust for granted. That's all I've got for now. Thanks for listening, Reddit.